Hi, welcome to Mixed Media Creations with me, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill. I just spent the afternoon in my studio and I created two ICADs, and this is one of them. Follow me on Instagram, get sneak peeks before the videos go up. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share my video. Today it's index card a day number 24, and it's gone to the cats, and it's entitled What Part of Meow? Links to the products that I use in the creation of this ICAD can be found in the description box below. So I have this little, I think it's called Mini Navajo. It's the Crafters Workshop stencil. And it's a 6x6, which are just perfect for ICADs and ATCs and traveling. So I want to kind of offset this a little off to the side to get some interesting pattern, and I'm going to dig out my modeling paste. So I'm just taping down my stencil and card just to make it easier. And you've seen me do this numerous times, you know, and even when I'm not on camera, I continue to do this. It just means that there's a higher likelihood that everything's going to work out okay. So I'm using the Crafters Workshop Light and Fluffy modeling paste, and I'm getting a little anxious because it's getting down to, you know, under half. And I'm applying this with a palette knife. Right about here, I thought, oh yeah, I wasn't going to use modeling paste. I was going to do gesso through a stencil. But you can put gesso through the stencil. You can put gel medium through the stencil. Gel medium will dry clear, and it will look very different. But play with them and see which ones you like best. Just kind of getting a nice even coat. The stencil, there's lots of little parts, so it squishes under very easily, so I'm being extra careful. And there you can see the lovely texture that it has given to my background, that it's going to add to the pattern. Now my plan here, and I've sped this up really a lot, was to use these Lindy starbursts in a burgundy color and a gold color. And, you know, I wanted the gold on the one on the top. Actually, I want it on one side and then the burgundy on the other side. Right off the bat, I goof. So I thought, okay, you know, we'll see how we can get this going. And I want them to kind of blend in the middle, but I want to have some yellow. For some reason, I want yellow on this card. So I play around with the Lindy starbursts, you know, and going back and forth. And I love these starbursts. The shimmer that gets caught in texture paste, and, you know, if you've got collage pieces or whatever, it just always really makes me happy and really sets off a piece. But for whatever reason, I didn't like how this turned out. And it might be because I didn't gesso the modeling paste, and I don't think I've ever used the Lindy's straight up on the Crafters Workshop modeling paste. I've used it on other products. So, you know what? I've said this numerous times, you know, if something goes wrong, get out a tub of gesso and gesso over it. So I'm just gessoing over it, and I know full well that the Lindy Starburst is going to reactivate and come through. And I'm okay with that because I'm still going to stick to the same color scheme, but I do give it a couple coats. And as you can see, we still have that lovely texture, and we can go to town. So I grabbed the Distress Crayons, and I have a yellow, an orange, and a burgundy. And so I'm putting the yellow in the middle. Now, because I was just drying the gesso on here, the card is a little warm, and that actually helps the Distress Crayons activate and mix a little bit. Now this is like, I find the Distress Crayons similar to the Dilutions. They really go through this ugly stage where you're not really getting what you want. So, you know, I'm just applying the color, spreading it on here, and then I'm going to work on blending it. So I'm trying with a baby wipe a little bit and then just getting my finger wet. And I'm finding that's not quite enough. It's working a little bit and blending a little bit more. There's lots of pigment on here because it's been caught on, on the modeling paste edges. So I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And I grab my gel medium and I'm going to use that to activate the color and to spread it around. And I start with that, and then I decide to just dip my brush in water and activate it with a brush, and that really worked. I think in part it's because there's so much texture underneath here. So I work on this for a while, and you can watch me do that. And I want this to blend, but I want to maintain that yellow in the middle. I don't want to get it too, and so I kind of go in there and I'm getting out some of that orange color because I want to keep the center yellow. That's where my focal point is going to be, and I want that to be yellow. So I took it off and I'm putting some fresh color on. Now, if you don't have Distress crayons, you can use acrylic paints, you can use gelatos. I do not like the feel of the gelatos. It's a sensory thing for me. I much prefer the Distress crayons. But use what you have. And then I'm determined I'm going to use these starbursts. So I put the gold in here because I really want to get that shimmer in those nooks and crannies. And this is pretty much wasted step. It really doesn't give anything to the finished piece. I mean, if you look really close, there's some gold in the nooks and crannies, but not enough to be the effect that I wanted. But I left this in here because, you need to know that we all have those failed attempts. We try things, and sometimes they do not work. Now, I can put this liquid on top of the Distress crayons. The Distress crayons, if you spill water on it or put water on it and you don't rub it, you don't apply pressure, it's not supposed to activate. And it kind of did a little bit, but not as much as watercolor or gelatos or some of these other water-soluble things would have. And that's what I like about them as well. So I'm just giving this a dry, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, is it giving me anything? Not really. It didn't add. So I grabbed Tim Holtz, the Crazy Cat stamps. Now, when I'm building my stash, I get out the stamp press and I stamp multiples. And then they go into a pouch that I have, just like the sentiments, and they're ready to go. And for those of you that were interested, I do plan on doing the Build Your Stash series and working on some ideas. So I cut out the sentiment. I had several in my stash, and I really like this one, but I like how this cat, the tail kind of swings up with the sentiment. It just makes it flow. So, you're always going to get to that stage where you're just going to audition your pieces. Try it this way, try it that way. Sometimes I even set myself a time limit because you can get carried away perfecting it. Since I have the Distress crayons here, I grabbed, I think, the only brown that I have. And, I'm colorizing the cat with that. For some reason, when it comes to coloring things, I kind of freeze. It always turns out. I'm always happy with the end result, but it's like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Is it going to work? So I like how the brown is popping, but I'm not quite happy with that shade of brown. And so I grab another brown that I have. This time it's in acrylic paint. And I much prefer, you know, applying the paint or applying the color with a paintbrush than I do coloring it with markers. That is just not my thing. Maybe it's too many years of doing it as I was making activities for students at school, but coloring and with markers and fussy cutting, that's not my happy place at all. So I'm happy with the color, and it's popping quite nicely on there. And I grab my shade, my small angle brush, and my black paint, and I'm just applying a little bit of black just to shade the cat. I'm not even doing a particularly good job of shading this acrylic. I just want to shade, you know, its haunches, under its chin. I got a little too much paint there, so I'm going to come in and, you know, dab it off a little bit. And this adds a lot. So whenever you're coloring or painting something, you know, several tones always works best. And then a darker shading and maybe some highlighting, although I never did any highlighting on here. But hopefully you can see what that little bit of black did. Now, if you don't want to do the shading the way I'm doing it right here, you can use a Stabilo All pencil, go around and then activate it. You can use watercolor crayons or pencils. Charcoal will work as well. So I'm just grabbing the pink, and I think it's medium magenta. Yeah, it's medium magenta. And I would just want to have that little bit of pink on the cat, and it's going to kind of go with the burgundy that's already on the back of the background. Now, if I put the pink on top of the brown, it's just going to, it won't show. So I'm adding a little bit of gesso with a liner brush, and then putting the pink on top of that. And I don't even wait for the gesso to dry. And I apologize that this has got a little blurry here. I do fix it right away. Or maybe not right away. I thought I caught it fairly quickly. So I'm liking, again, how this is popping off of the background. And then I grab my archival ink. I'm going to edge the side of the card. Now that I've got black on the cat and in the lettering, I'm going to edge with my cut and dry foam. There you go. Focus. And I'm just edging it with the cut and dry foam around the edges. And I'm off screen. Oh my gosh, did I ever do a bad job here? I apologize. But you've seen me do this 100 times. Usually I cut this out of the videos because, you know, I don't think it's that. But you can see how the black just really makes that pop. It makes those colors even more vibrant. And then I'm going to edge the sentiment as well. This video, except for the part where I'm putting the Lindy starbursts on, where it was a complete fail, I have kept it just double time. In total, including all the mistakes, it was about 40 minutes of creation time. And the more I use this cut and dry foam, the more I like it for this purpose. There you go. Give you something to see and something to look at. So now I'm just finalizing where I want the sentiments to go and where everything's going to go. Then I decide, you know, I want to bring out this texture. This pattern of this stencil is so amazing. I just really want to bring it out. So I just kind of rub the cut and dry foam with the Distress ink or archival ink on there. And then, you guessed it, I get some gold. So I just tap my finger in the gold paint, and I'm just rubbing oh so lightly on the top. I just want the gold to be on the top layer. And I have a baby wipe in case I get it where I don't want it, but I'm mindful of the fact that if I rub on the Distress Crayon, it will come off. So I don't want to do that. So I'm adding a little bit of gold, and I take a considerable amount of time and to add more. And it's so worth it. It's just like old antique. I absolutely love the end result. A butterfly would look nice on this, you know, dragonfly, a heart. You know, it's a very versatile background. I just wish that you guys would be able to see how wonderful, whenever I put gold on things, how it looks, because you get a little bit of a look of effect, but it's nothing in comparison to the real life. I just decided that I'm going to take my gold paint and put them in one of these little tubs. 99% of the time on every project that I use, I end up using gold, and I typically end up putting too much out. So I think I'm going to put some in a little container like I showed you and have it there at the ready, and then hopefully I won't be, you know, if I'm not squeezing, I won't use too much. I'll give it a try. I bought those little containers at the dollar store, and I have my black paint in it, and it seals things perfectly. And it's really handy to have the black just right there and not in a tube. So I think I might do that with my white, my black, my gold, buy them in bigger tubes, and then just put a little bit there, and they can just sit right on near my workspace, because you use them a lot. I use them a lot. So I'm using gel medium to adhere this down. And again, I'm mindful that I don't want to rub on the background and disturb this terrific background that we've created. I will be using Liquitex gloss varnish and gloss medium and varnish. It actually says and varnish on it afterwards. And that will preserve the gold that's in there. If you use matte medium on the top to seal it, it may seal it, but it's going to dull any shimmery stuff that you have. So using gloss varnish will do the trick there. I've decided that this is, you know, going to be a fridge magnet or a bookmark or something, because it's just, I'm so thrilled with how it worked out. I think I might actually even use this pattern and, you know, do other ones and gifts and things that I can try to sell for those cat lovers that exist. I decided that I'm going to finish the back of this off, and I'm just putting a coat of black gesso, and I'm very careful. I don't want to move the card at all because I don't want the black to go on the front. You can tape that down, but you have to be mindful, like I did right there. It kind of moved, so I'm cleaning it up. Most of the time, if I'm covering up the back, if I'm turning it into a fridge magnet or bookmark, or just you know, inspirational card, I often glue a gel print on there that's somewhat coordinating color. So now that this is black, all black, and I have some gold paint there because of course I put too much out, like I said, I'm just going to water down the gold paint and splatter, and the splatters are going to hide. I'm not sure if you saw, but there's some imperfections, and because there was glue on the back and different things, and this is just going to camouflage all of that, and you're not going to see what's there, and the gold is going to match what's on the front. So thanks for watching. Here's some close-ups of this beautiful ICAD. Oh, you can see the gold there. I love it. Bye for now.